All right, welcome everyone to class of Pirke Avos. Again, we're holding by Pirke Avos, Ethics for Fathers. We are in chapter 2, Mishna 16. This is going to be part 11. There will be part 12, part 13, part 14, I am sure. Again, everyone, holding by Pirke Avos, Ethics for Fathers. We are in chapter 2, Mishna 16, and this is again part 11. So the Mishnah said, in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, that an evil eye, the evil inclination, hatred of other people, remove a person from this world. So speaking the last few weeks, basically, name of Rabbeinu Yonah, that what does it mean? What does it mean, the evil eye? It means somebody is jealous of somebody else, right? They're jealous what their friend has, that they have more money, they're, I don't know, got better kids, better spouse, they know more, I don't know, whatever it is, that they're jealous, right? Essentially, they're jealous. And what does it do? As we said before, it causes damage to them, to their friends, people around them. And part of it also is that they think it's important what these people have that they don't have. Yeah. In other words, they'll say, let's say money. Money is always a big thing. So let's say by money, they'll say, why is this person, they go on fancy vacations. They have a fancier car. They have a nicer this, like the end all things is how much is the person's bank account. But in the secular world, that's kind of what matters for most people because they don't have anything else, right? So they'll compare what someone else, may have, because imagine you meet somebody for the first time, right? You meet someone for the first time. What is the question that will come up in the first 30 seconds? Right? The questions that will come up in the first 30 seconds will be, where are you from? Where do you live? Where are you from? And what do you do? Right? Those are usually the first two questions that'll come up. Now, not necessarily in that order, right? In other words, very nice, nice to meet you. They'll make conversation. They want to know what you do, right? That might come up first. But if you think about it, why should that come up? Why does that matter? So a person will say, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I do social media, YouTube personality, I don't know, whatever someone does. Does that define who the person is? Shouldn't define them by any stretch, right? It's what a person does to make money. Now, it may be you don't make a lot of money from it. Maybe you don't make a lot of money from it. It doesn't matter, right? But that's not what defines the person. It is interesting. I think it's interesting that people will say, in topic of conversation, that's like the first thing that comes up. Like, oh, you do this. Or like, that's how people now will look at you. I can tell you what I do. People say, people say, oh, you give classes to non-Jews. I'm like, weirdo, like, wacko. Like, what are you doing there, doing with non-Jews? Like, why don't you work with Jews? So I also work with Jews as well. Or like someone said, you scam me now. Of all these people, I can get you a real job. I'm like, why? So I like what I do. I think I'm pretty good at what I do. But people size it up and think, well, it's kind of strange. A little bit. Okay. Right. But in the bigger scheme of things, all these other things, whether a person's a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an actuary, I don't know, they're a teacher, they do social media, whatever they do. Like, is that embellished? Is that who they are? By doing these type of things. But you could say, someone who's involved in Torah, in spreading Torah. Let's say. So you say, so a person can say, well, that's their life. Doing outreach, that's their life. Well, they do it how many years, don't matter, right? But that's their life. It's all, it's all encompassing. So that I can hear. That's what a person has a passion for, right? That's what they're living for. So it gives them that, that extra oomph in their step. They're helping others, right? They're giving to others. Some more, some less, whatever it is. So in that case, I would say, you're helping others. Good. That can help define who a person is because of what they do. Okay. For almost anything else, a person, let's say, professor of mathematics. So you can say it defines them in a certain way, right? The way they analyze things, the way, they look at things. Okay. You can take something from that and, and say, well, this person's more analytical, this person's more abstract, more whatever. But, does that define really, in all aspects of their life, who they are? Not at all. It's one aspect of it, one part of it, right? Certainly not the whole, certainly not the whole thing. But the point is, people get caught up. People get caught up in this idea, like, we're going to ask someone what they do, and we're going to look at them in a certain way. We're going to define, who this person is exactly by what they do. And that's wrong, right? Who cares what they do? Right? That in no way, shape, or form, that does not define, right? That will not define who they are. If it sure will not define who they are. So why do people do it? Why do people do it? Good question. Right? Very good question. And we get caught up with it, like everyone else. That's what we get caught up in. What other people do. But you can't make the mistake that's who they are. But that's not really the point. The point, is I just saw in a weekly parsha sheet that they do in the name of Victor Miller, take from of blessed memory, take a bunch of his tapes, transcribe them and put them into a pamphlet every week. And the question, they always have a question, that someone asked them and the answer he gave. And the question this week was, about keeping up with the Joneses or the Schwartzes or whatever. Basically, he said the same thing. He's like, what do you care? Why are you looking over your shoulder? Someone else does. Who cares? Here's what someone else has. Right? Maybe God gave it to him because it's going to wipe out in the next world. It's going to give him a lot of wealth. Okay. Now you're gonna be jealous of that? I don't think so. Probably not. But what's the problem? We compare ourselves all the time. Now, in Torah, that's not a bad thing. Why is that not a bad thing? Because what does Torah do? You'll say a person can be jealous of someone's knowledge. Okay. And they look at their own knowledge compared to them as inadequate. Very good. So what does that do, though? They're going to say, well, Shana about them other things. No. What it can do is light a spark for them. Make them jealous in a good way. Saying that they also want to have, that level of knowledge. They also want to work harder, get more knowledge. That's a good thing. Right? That's definitely a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. People can say, well, maybe, cause bad feelings, this and that. But when it comes to Torah, for instance, let's say, you have, in a religious area, you have synagogues by the block, by the dozen. Yeah, how many people go to each synagogue? Maybe one rabbi is, much more successful than another, and bringing people in and dealing with them and, whatever. But what does that do? That's good competition. We don't look at that as bad competition. It's good competition. Why? Because that means you have to be on your game more. It means you have to work harder. Right? It'll drive you in a certain way. So, like a person would say, I made a video, this person gets 10,000, views, over 2 days. right? You get 150. You get 200, right? Maybe one goes viral, you get 1,000. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it's 8. Why should I be getting 10,000? Like, what am I doing wrong? What is this person saying that, that you're not saying, that whatever? Again, you can say it could be good and bad. Right? But when it comes to Torah, jealousy should be a good thing, because that'll light a spark under someone. That'll make them work harder. That'll make them want to learn more. Yeah, so that's not a bad thing. But in other, and that's not a lack of emunah either. Wanting someone's knowledge, being jealous of someone's knowledge. That's not being sameach b'chelko, saying, "Oh, I should be happy with what I have." They want more. They want more in spiritual terms. That's good. That's good. Right? But the Mishna Pirke Avos, when I get there, in about 102, and that is who miu ashir, who's considered rich, is someone who's sameach b'chelko, someone who's happy with what he has, not desiring what someone else has. Feeling like they're missing out. What are you missing out on? See, that, in a big sense, is a lack of emunah. Why? Because the person's working, and they're working hard, they're striving, this, that, and this is what they bring in. But someone else maybe works less, whoever, could also work very hard, and they make a lot more. Why should that be? I'm just as qualified. I should be doing, I should be making that money. It's not fair. So life's not about fair. We mentioned that many times. Life has nothing to do with being fair or not. God is going to give you what you deserve. He's going to give you what you deserve either way. Yeah. And even if it's something where a person can be jealous, a person can say, well, it's not fair. It's a lack of emunah. Because God gave something to somebody that He didn't give to you, or not yet, or whatever it is. But a person can say, I'm just qualified. I should have this, right? Anyone's ever needed money, finally, like, somebody comes in, they're like, wow, I need this money, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was. Then the money, some of the money comes in. So what would a person say? What's the proper outlook? The proper outlook is that is called be'ito ubizmano. What's be'ito ubizmano mean? Means it came at that time, at that fitting time. You're going to say, but I need the money before. Good. So God gave it to you when He gave it to you. That's when He gave it to you. So that's called the right time. Right? So, that's also a hard thing to fathom. Because, God can do anything, which He can. So why did He give me money later? Why do you make it happen like that? You should give it to me now. Right? You should have given it to me now. Right? But that's called the right time. And God will give it to you when He wants to give it to you. I always say sometimes, things come in where obviously you least expect it. Some things you can expect, okay. Other things, you have no control over. But, as Chosavova says, in Shar B'tachon, the gate of faith and belief in God, he says, you have to do ishtadlus. You have to put your best foot forward. But putting your best foot forward has nothing to do with anything in the end result. The other people make the mistake also. I did this, I did that, and things didn't happen. And all of a sudden, things come through the back door. That's the way it works. 99% of the time, that's what happens. You put your best foot forward, no results, or very little results, and then something comes in through the back door you wouldn't have expected in 10 lifetimes. Usually, that's how it works. But the question, as Rav Avigdor Miller, blessed memory, asked the question, and that is, what are you doing looking over your shoulder? What do you care? What do you care what someone does? So he gave an example. Someone had to make a wedding. And they said, we're not going to do what everyone else does. And I'm not going to go in debt to do it. To marry off my kid, we'll give him something nice, but it won't be like everyone else. We're not going to throw in this, we're not going to throw in that. You're going to save money. What happened? So what happened in this case? They went full out. They didn't have the money. They put themselves into debt. We asked them, like, what happened over here? What was the answer? Too much pressure. Couldn't do that to my kid. But you agree, like, you know, people spend so much money on a wedding, it's only for one night. Like, how much food can a person eat? Go to some of these things. I heard Pesach Corona should be well. One say, it's called the screaming smorgasbord. Why? Why is it a screaming smorgasbord? Because there's so much food on the table screams for the weight of it. Screaming smorgasbord. Right? How much food can a person eat? Right? I won't get gross here. We know where it goes in the end. We know where it's coming out. How much can you eat? So the older you get, it's easier because you can't eat as much. Right? You just, you can't stuff your face like you did when you were younger. The system doesn't work the same. Right? But what did the person say? Right? The person said, the person said, what can I do? What can I do? They gave in to pressure. They for sure gave in to pressure. And to boot, they put themselves in the debt. Right? Which is kind of crazy. But I heard someone here say, when the father died, what was it? What did they get as inheritance? They got $350,000 of debt. Now, don't question if the child has to really pay it off. It's not their debt, right? It's really not, it's really not their debt, right? It could be they do have to pay it off, whatever, whatever it may be. Why is there a mitzvah to do that? People will do it. They don't marry off the kids. That was a crazy thing. People marry off the kids. They help buy an apartment. Now I understand why, especially here, right? Especially here, it makes sense because you rent, you have nothing, right? So you rent for years and years and years. Trying to put money away, this, that, but whatever, you're throwing money away. True, 100%. But if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. That's one of the biggest miracles. In Israel, that people own their own apartments. In like more than 70% or something. Like, I don't think the top 10, top 20 in the world of people that own their apartments. And the funny thing is, or I would say more irony, and that is that, you live in a war zone here, so to speak, and prices have never gone down. Prices have never gone down. That's mind-boggling. For religious people, it's supply and demand. That's it. People want to live in a certain area. There, not so many, let's say apartments available, so the price goes up significantly. So, that's what happens. But, at the end of the day, what does the person have to do? You have to put your best foot forward. But at the same time, if someone said, like, and I'm mostly girls, so like, people, what are you going to do? The other side wants an apartment. They want you to put down money or most of the money for an apartment, at least for a down payment. Like, that's great. If I had it, I give it. If you don't have it, now for some people, that's criteria. Okay. All right. They want you to put up X amount. Well, good luck. That's one of the things you discuss before they go out. So if they're not willing to swallow that pill, so they look elsewhere. There are people who look elsewhere. And there are people that, they'll put themselves into debt to do it. Okay, I get it. Only so much debt you can take on also. But, in theory, it makes sense. Why should, waste money, in rent? Makes sense. At least money's going towards a mortgage, right? So you're paying off the mortgage. Very good, but it's yours. Makes sense. But if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. So it's like someone told me many years ago, whatever you do, you'll marry into families, they'll do the same. Yeah. People that want a lot of money, they ain't coming to me. At least not yet. They're not coming to me. Right? They won't marry him. Okay. Doesn't mean they won't find. They will, they'll find, people that have money. Okay. And that's a criteria. Good. But if not, what are you going to say? You can't marry off your kids? right? You won't be able to have your kids. What are you going to do? Some people say this is what putting my best foot forward is. Yeah. This is what it is. Yeah, I got an obligation now. I remember my first daughter got married. Yeah, Rabbi said, you just do it 50-50. That's it. That's it. Finish. You're not promising anything. You don't have anything. So you have nothing to promise, right? But, at least at the moment. But, at the end, what are you going to do? And they say, well, we want this. Well, too bad. I also want a lot of things. It doesn't go like that. So if you don't want, you won't marry into my family. All right. Go find someone else, though. Found 3 very nice families, thank God. Yeah, we're on the same boat. Some better, some worse. We're pretty much in the same boat. Help where I can, whatever I can do. More than that, I can't do. So what are you supposed to do? You can't force somebody, you can't force anyone. Either you look elsewhere, you deal with it. No mitzvah to put yourself in it. People do it. I told someone joking, about buying an apartment. I said, listen, if I need the last part of the, down payment, maybe help me out. He's like, listen, I'm, I married off, I don't know, 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever it is. He said, my apartment is like, I paid off probably a lot of it. They bought it probably very cheap, 20 years ago or more. So he said, it's already mortgaged out. Totally mortgaged out by the time he married off his kids. Yeah. I mean, you can only do it so many times, right? I know other people that basically when they had married off kids, they downsized. Sold their apartment, bought a smaller apartment, and money left over, they married off other kids. That's what they did. A person will marry off their kids regardless. Obviously, if God wants them to. It doesn't matter if they have money or not. A friend of mine also got a lot of girls. He said, you have to tell me how you did it. So I said, each one's its own miracle. Each one's its own miracle. There's no question. But if you don't have God to take care of it, right? He can take care of anything. Blink of an eyelash. So it's not a problem. But it's, and it's not wishful thinking either. You can say, well, one thing you can test God with is charity, right? How much charity a person gives. That you can test God on. Really, you shouldn't give more than 20%. Why shouldn't you give more than 20%? Because if you give more than 20%, might not, you might give, too much, and you might need the help of others. So really, you shouldn't give more than 20%. It's really forbidden to give more than 20%. Up to 20% you can give, right? Yeah, well, what if you don't have to give? So listen, you have to take stock of what you have, what you made, and eventually you get money, you should give it, right? But if you can't give, you can't give it. No mitzvah, to go further, into the poorhouse, by doing that. But people say you never was giving charity. Okay, it's true. Right, it's true. I have a friend of mine that he's works with converts also, but he's a scribe. He's a scribe by profession. And so I went to one of the Torah Giants the last generation, and asked, like, he had a lot of stock at home. It wasn't really selling. He was having difficulty with livelihood. So his great rabbi told him he should give 20%. Give 20% to charity. So he said, you give 20%, you won't have any problems. That's what he told him. So this person was like in the poorhouse. He had nothing. So he goes back to his wife and says, what did he say? He said, I should give 20%. He says, great. I got, I don't have anything. So I'll give 20% of nothing. Since I have nothing, I'll give 20% of what I don't have. Nothing. Yeah. What happened after that? What happened after that? He told me that, like I said, he writes mezuzahs, and he said since he took on to give 20%, he said he never has any mezuzahs in stock. Just about. Every time he writes, they get sold. He's got like, a whole list of people that want, like all the time. Like he's never lacked. Since that's what the rabbi told him, that's what he did. Gives 20%, never had a problem since. Never had a problem. Saying he's like making millions, not doing that. Right? But he's got things taken care of, marry off his kids. But he laughed. He says, great. His rabbi told me give 20%, it's beautiful. 20% of 0 is 0. It's like, what am I going to give? I don't have anything to give, right? So you never lose giving, charity. It's going to be good charity, but you definitely never lose. But that's the test. You can say, well, if I want to test God, I could give half. You could. It's risky in the sense that you might come on to other people, the rabbi says. So you should give a maximum of 20%. If a person, let's say, a little bit of a different issue, we'll just throw this out there. If a person, let's say, wanted to make a deal with somebody, what we call a Yisachar Zvulun contract. What is a Yisachar Zvulun contract? It's a contract where one, really, you had two brothers, right? You had Yisachar Zvulun. One of them worked, practically speaking, and helped support his brother. Right? In other words, one of them worked and he helped support his brother, who was learning. So his brother was learning, the one who helped support him got merit for the learning of his brother, even though he wasn't learning, he was working. Right? In other words, the brother was learning. Brother had intention that not all the merit, but part of the merit of their learning would go to the brother in spiritual terms, and the other brother would help support. Now, it's interesting, it's brought down, how much does the person give? How much really should a person give? Really, you give 10%, you give 20%, emotion finds it brings down. Really, if you want to be an equal partner, 100% an equal partner, you got to give half. Half of whatever you make, you give to the other person, you get merit in the learning. A lot of people do that. Or, they give however much they give. Some people give 10%, some people give 15%, they'll give less, they'll give more, right? Whatever the agreement is, right? Whatever the agreement is. But they get reward. They'll get the spiritual reward as if they had learned what their partner they're supporting learns. They get that support. They get that reward. In other words, they're giving physical support and they're getting spiritual reward, right? As if they learned whatever that person's learning. That means the person gets upstairs after 120 years, so they may see that, what's one of the tests? One of the questions God's going to ask a person after they die. Going to say, did you learn Torah? Right? Did you learn Torah? Were you honest in business? So there's a question we won't go into, but there's a question, what are you going to get asked first? Some say we honest in business will be first. Some say that, did you learn Torah will be first. So imagine a person learned that much because, they were learning, but they learned minimal things, whatever it is. They learned when they could. And they get upstairs and they find out they get all this rewards. They get all this credit for all these different things they learned. Going to this tractate, another tractate, this book, that book, whatever. And, and the soul says, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. I didn't learn that. Show me what I really learned, which really wasn't that much. I went a little bit here, a little bit there, whatever. So no, you help support this person. You help this person support this person. So since you help support them, so you get the reward of what they learned, right? You get the reward that they learned. So you don't lose out, obviously. Person supporting someone else, however much it is, whether they're giving 10%, 20%, 50%, whatever they're giving, they get reward or some reward of that learning the person did. Right? That's how it works. That's how a Yisachar Zvulun relationship works. I mentioned, according to Moshe Feinstein, if I remember correctly, he said for it to really work at the optimal level, you have to be all in. So therefore, whatever you make, half has to go to the other person. Half of whatever you make for you, have whatever you make. That has to go to the other person, right? And you get half the reward, right? You will get half the learning. Whatever that person's learning, you get half of that, right? You get half of that. So very good. So a person can't learn that much. They want to support someone. They want to support someone in learning. That's the way to do it, right? Give 10%, 20%, whatever it is, and they have a portion of that person's learning. So after a person dies, after 120 years, they're going to see that they got this reward exponentially, even if they didn't learn it, right? They're going to say, but I didn't learn this. What's the answer? It doesn't matter. They're getting credit as if they learned it. That's huge, right? That's a huge thing. In any case, when it comes to this, it comes to charity in general, you have to know where to give. Where the best place to give. Some people tell you Jewish outreach is the best place to give, right? Kiruv is the best place to give. Why? Very simple, because they're going to say, which I'm not saying it's not true. They're going to say, you know what? If they make somebody religious, so they get a portion of all their mitzvahs. So in other words, let's say they make someone religious, right? This person makes someone religious. So the ones helping support that organization also get a portion. But that portion is not just, they get part of one mitzvah that the person did. No, whatever mitzvah the person does, and if they're married, their spouse and their kids, they get all those mitzvahs. So that, you're getting a return plus, multiplied by infinity. You're not just getting the mitzvah like, this person made a blessing. No, you're not just getting that mitzvah, right? You're getting everything they do. You're getting a portion of that. Why? Because you had a portion in, helping them become religious. Even if you didn't do it, someone else did it, but you're helping support it. Now, Kiruv is a double-edged sword also. The reason is because, you make someone religious, you have someone become religious, very good. So you have a share in their mitzvahs. Okay. Exponentially, you have a share. It's beautiful. What happens when it goes sour? What happens when other things happen? You pay the price also, right? You can pay the price also. It could be, similar to where somebody, let's say, at student, they have a student what we call a Talmud She'eino Hooligan. A Talmud She'eino Hooligan means they're teaching someone that's not fit to be taught. In other words, they're teaching somebody that doesn't deserve to be taught because they're going to use it for the wrong things or whatever. So that you got to be careful of also. In other words, they can take the knowledge and information and use it for who knows what. I had somebody contact me a while ago, a month ago, longer. Someone who was I don't know, still a pastor, I guess. Not a former pastor, but I guess a pastor. And what he was looking for was someone to teach him according to the Torah. Like line by line. To learn what the Torah says. And then they have this dialogue of what the New Testament says, what their scripture says. Compare and contrast, this and that. But he wanted all this knowledge. So I said, good luck. So you ain't going to find it from us. I mean, can't imagine anyone's going to teach you, right? They got an ulterior motive, right? It's like comparative religion, so to speak. You tell me what you know about all this, which, a person can have a lot of knowledge, right? And I'll tell you what the New Testament says and, whatever. But I want that knowledge. I want, Talmudic knowledge. I want Jewish philosophy knowledge. I want all this knowledge. Yeah. So I said, that's great. I said, there's one problem. I said, who's going to teach you? That ain't going to be me. That's for sure. Right? But I said, who's going to teach you? So nobody's going to teach you. Only the Orthodox world, the Jewish Orthodox world, right, is going to teach you. Because obviously, it's someone who shouldn't be taught that. You want to convert? You're interested in conversion? Good. Right? We'll have a discussion. You're not interested in conversion. It's also fine. More than by idolatry? No. So that's a problem. That is a problem. He teaches someone like that. So that there are people out there, that's they want quote unquote the best of both worlds. Well, it doesn't work. Right? Even if someone in contact with somebody, they haven't got back to me because I think I, put them in their place. But basically, basically their thoughts are more towards the Orthodox. They want to learn, really what the Torah says, etc. But they're so enchanted and enthralled with their Reformed congregation, like, they told me straight out, they're not really going to leave that congregation, but they want to learn. They want to learn beyond what he's doing there. But he feels so comfortable there, so welcome there, and all that. I told him, doesn't go. Because it doesn't go, because we believe it's a travesty, mockery of Hashem. We believe it's nothing. You're not learning very much, you're not doing the right thing. So either, I said you can't have both. I said, you're going to learn what it means to be an Orthodox Jew and live around people that eat shrimp and do all these other things. So that's not going to help. It's certainly not going to help. So there's no point. So as I said, you don't get it both ways. You will not get it both ways. What was the answer? I haven't heard yet. Never got an answer back. He said, I know it sounds like a contradiction and this, that, but he was honest. Person was honest. He goes, that's where I'm holding. That's where I'm holding. So I said, it's a problem. It'll take me, a long time to get this garbage out of your head. But even if you're leaning towards more that this is what you want, so how can you have both? If you tell me, listen, it's a stepping stone, I'm growing, I'm eventually going to leave it anyway, this and that, okay, maybe have a discussion. But if if they say, listen, I'm still happy where I am, and I'm not going to change, I'm not going to leave it, but it's like, I want to take, this is like extracurricular. I want to do more, right? I want to learn more for like extra credit. I don't know. Whatever it is, they want to learn more. Okay. But how's it going to help you? You're still stuck in a swamp. You're still like in quicksand drowning. So this is not going to help you because you're not willing to get yourself out of the swamp. You're not willing to take yourself out of the muck. Right? That's not going to help. That's probably why I haven't heard back from them. Right? They want their cake and eat it. It doesn't work. It's like someone saying, someone asked the question, can I hold the Torah mitzvahs and learn and this and that, but I still hold, JC's the Messiah. So I said, so I'll give you a parable. Give me a parable. The Gemara says it's like going into a mikveh, and you're holding on to a dead rat or dead mouse, right? Even smaller, dead mouse, dead animal, whatever it is. The mikveh will not purify you. You're still impure. So same thing. You hold this guy in a cross. You go in the mikveh, but you're still holding on to him. That doesn't help. Doesn't help you anywhere. It's the opposite. Right? You don't have the best of both worlds. Kaufman's law is that either you do it right or you don't bother. Right? Don't be a hypocrite. Right? I can't stand hypocrites, but don't be a hypocrite. Do what you need to do or don't. Don't say, no, really, it's Webster's fifth definition. Really, you got to do. Don't make up stories. Right? Don't make up things that don't make sense. No, I really hold by it and we should be doing this. And you've done the research? Or you just want to fit it into your world outlook. Okay, so wait a minute. I had somebody once, I told them, I said, listen, I don't recommend this, but I was pretty blunt. I said, bottom line, tell me you think this, you think that, you think the other thing. Just tell me you don't want to be inconvenienced by Torah. That's all you have to say. I said, I won't huck you, I won't bother you about it. Just admit you don't want to be, just admit it. Just admit it. Finally, they said fine. They admitted it. I said that's all you had to say. You make up this, you make up that, you make up other things. You don't want discomfort. Right? You don't want any discomfort. You don't want anything interfering with your lifestyle. Just admit it. That's all you have to do. You're making your life, Torah fit into your lifestyle. No. Torah is what it is. It's not putting my lifestyle into Torah. No. It's not the way it works. You have to be all in. Right? But, most people today, why are they not Orthodox Jews? We'll say it's too hard. The laws are antiquated, this, that. They don't want to be inconvenienced. That was the word I was thinking of. They do not want to be inconvenienced. They don't want to give up things they do on Shabbos. They don't want to, stop doing work for festivals and this. They don't want to be inconvenienced. They just want to do what they want to do. So if people were more intellectually honest, which they aren't, right, which most people are not, they'll never be. I've only met one in the last 30 years or 32 years where, somebody says, if I look at, married to a non-Jew, right? So the Jew says, if I look in the Torah, I find out it's true and I have to change my life, I'm not willing to do it. So I'm not going to look into it. Okay. They are intellectually honest. Oh, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I think they're wrong, but I don't have a problem with it. I understand where they're coming from. Everyone else, a bunch of quacks, a bunch of wackos. They come up with like Webster's 8th definition about things. That makes sense. Does not make sense, but they'll hold on to it because they just want to do what they want to do. It's based on desire, which will be the next topic, right? But totally based on desire. But they don't want to be inconvenienced. Bottom line, they don't want to be inconvenienced. So if I tell someone, listen, just admit it. Just admit that's the whole thing, and they admitted it. So good. Oh, they're trying to change them. It's not going to change. That's their choice, right? But I want people to admit the truth. Just admit the truth. Don't beat around the bush and say, "Oh, I think this," and because it's a crock. You don't believe in it. It doesn't make sense. So just say, "I don't want to be inconvenient." So someone said, "Fine, I said it. You happy?" I'm like, "Yeah." Said, "I'm much happier now." Just admit it. People don't want to admit it. You want to say, "I think this, I think that, I think your direction is wrong, I think it's too strong, I think," okay, but it's not true. I always tell people the test. The test is go to a relative's house, right? You go to, relative's house, friend's house, whatever. Other people there, you bring your own food. Food is a big thing. Right? Imagine Thanksgiving. I would say, if you can stand family, get together with family, it's the best time because it's not Shabbos, it's not a festival. So you go there with your own food, right? You go there with your own food. What happens? People get offended. What? Just be able to eat my food? You're not even Jewish. Why are you doing this or whatever? Food's a big thing. People will get insulted. 100% they will get insulted. Yeah, let's say all kinds of things. But they're insulted. They're insulted, you won't eat their food. It's a big test. Right? I think it's a very simple test to see where people are really holding. Because for whatever reason, food's an important thing. Yeah, so again, a lot of these things, as we mentioned, right? As Rabbeinu Yonah said, he said that they desire what their friend has, contaminates their thoughts. Because why does it contaminate their thoughts? Because the first question would be, why do they deserve it and I don't? Why shouldn't I have? I also deserve. Okay. Now, really, technically speaking, if you deserved, right? If you deserved, wouldn't God give it to you? Right? If you wanted it, this is something you prayed for a long time and you want it, wouldn't God give it to you? So you say, but I don't have it. Another person has it. Someone else has it. They're doing much better, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But at the end of the day, guess what? God didn't want you to have it. Usually, as we say, the Gemara says, not everybody inherits both worlds. Meaning, you find it's very rare where you find someone who has a lot of money and they're a big rabbinic scholar at the same time. Very rare. I remember when I lost all my money, Rabbi quoted this Gemara. And he said, not everyone can merit both worlds. So I asked him, tongue in cheek, I said, are you comforting me? I said, are you making fun of me? Yeah. So, I said, the first year I came back, I was learning like fire. I was buying for porn. So I asked him, I said, listen, this is what I learned during the year, up until now. I said, listen, if I can't have the blessing, the blessing of money, I said, you give me the blessing of Torah. I said, I want the blessing of Keter Torah, of the crown of Torah. Then you give me that. A lot of times it doesn't go both ways. But, in other words, usually it's like water and oil. They don't mix. Because the person has money, as Mr. Pirke Avos says, you have 200, you want 400. You have 400, you want 800. right? What does money do? Money makes you want to have more. Right? It's one of the things, as King Solomon says, it's the thing that doesn't satiate. The more money a person has, the more they want. It's very rare, if ever, you see someone, let's say a Jew, you see an Orthodox Jew, they got plenty of money, and they sit on the money and they sit and learn all day. Now, it could be some people, when they retire, they figured, okay, I got plenty, maybe they'll do it, whatever. But let's say, they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money, good investments. They don't have to really do anything. How many people at that point sit and learn full time? They don't need to work. They don't need to work. Someone I know, whatever, very wealthy person, for like 15 years, sat and learned. While watching his business also, whatever. He said at some point he stopped because he just couldn't get out of the system. In other words, that whole thing was just in the system. So I said, thank God, when I had money, I never had that. I never had that desire because I wasn't in that world. Right? I was in the business world. So since I was in the business world, I used it for what I needed it for. And I helped a lot of people with it. Very good. Yeah. Unfortunately, it got taken away. But, at the end of the day, I didn't have that mentality. I guarantee, once you have that mentality, it's very hard to get out. I will not say impossible. I will not say impossible. It's very hard. Very, very hard. And the reason is not just what other people have. It's just it's part of your system. This is who you are. It's all about the chase. It's all about, making deals. And, it's all part of that. It's all part of that. And for some people, they never get out of their system fully because they're part of that, so to speak. So I would think in general, which is not true, but I would think in general, okay, the other person was blessed. Their business went, skyrocketed, great for them. But then a person looks at what they have and what they do, which obviously you should, but they have a better car. They go on more vacations. They do this. They do this. Well, what does that have to do with me? Right? It has nothing to do with me. As Victor Miller said, who cares? What do you sticking your big nose in someone else's thing? Who cares? Let them use it. They're saying you just forgive them. So you're happy for them that they have. Right? Regardless of what they use it for, it doesn't matter. Right? But you be happy for them. Okay. They worked hard or they were blessed in other ways. Their business took off. Great. But something digs inside a person for some people. Right? For some people. They could earn it. You could look at somebody and say, okay, they worked their way up in a law firm, whatever, but they were never home. They worked day and night like dogs. But eventually, they made partner or senior partner or part partner, whatever. They worked their way up, and, made good amount of money. Okay. At what expense? My friend of mine said, they someone started out. I was like, yeah, just get a bed, sleep in the office. That's how it's going to be. Who wants that? Maybe it's better for marital harmony. Maybe it's better that way. But okay, so you work like a dog, work like an absolute dog, made a lot of money. Let's say you made a lot of money. What expense? Now it could be the kids will say at our expense because the person was never home. Never had time to really forge relationships. Why? Because he's never home. He's too busy working. It took off time here, took off time there, but the higher you rise, the more responsibility. So it's harder. So even if someone would say, wow, so jealous what they have and different things, very good. Yeah, but why should someone worry about it? Why should it bother someone? So says now Rabbeinu Yonah, it's like, almost 1,000 years ago, more, right, like 1,000 years ago. So he was already talking about this 1,000 years ago. Torah is a message for every generation. for every generation, not just, these are ideas and this and that. This is medieval. Well, Rabbeinu Yonah is talking to us today just like he was, 1,000 years ago. And he says this can happen. This can happen. So what does it do? Right? So essentially, what does it do? What it does is it constantly complain what they don't have. Right? Contaminates the person's thoughts. Constantly they're thinking and they're burning inside with this jealousy, which can have a bad effect on them and a bad effect on others. And essentially they're jealous what they don't have. So again, could ask, the $1 million question, right? And the $1 million question is, what are they really missing? What are they missing? So I would like life to be easier. I should have this, I should have that, I should be able to go here, go there. Well, what essentially, what are they missing? What are they missing? Right? And this comes under the category also as one of the 10 commandments, don't covet. You're not allowed to covet. Now, covet means even if you don't spend money. You don't have to spend money to transgress. Well, because even if a person doesn't buy it, let's say, you transgress the fact that you say, I don't have it. And I want it. And I desire it. We always have to ask the question, any of these things is why? Why, why is this, why am I, let's say, why is the person getting so cooked up about what this person has or doesn't have? What difference does it make? God wants them to have it, they'll have it. Doesn't want them to have it, they won't have it. What does that have to do with you? See, when a person gets upstairs after 120 years, God's not going to ask you, why weren't you like this person or that person or the other person? He's going to ask you about yourself, your own potential. Whether you reached it, you didn't reach it, whatever, right? Someone said to me that somebody, an Orthodox Jew got caught doing something. Whatever, some type of fraud or whatever it was. Orthodox Jew got caught. Okay. So listen to this very convoluted way of thinking. So they're thinking, okay, this person, this Orthodox Jew, is supposed to keep Torah mitzvahs. Good. That's their obligation. They're supposed to keep Torah mitzvahs. Now, if they're supposed to keep Torah mitzvahs and they don't, well, they should be keeping Torah mitzvahs, right? But I don't keep Torah mitzvahs. Okay. But I didn't do what this person did. I didn't commit fraud. So here's the Gemara thoughts. They did it. They knew better. And this is what they did. I didn't do that. I mean, I don't keep very much, but I didn't do that. So therefore, I don't have to keep it. If the person supposed to keep it didn't keep it, right? And they didn't do what they were supposed to do, good. So they're going to get punished. Okay. But me that doesn't keep it, so now why do I have to keep it if this person doesn't? And what's the answer? My kesher. What does it do with anything? That has nothing to do with anything. I'm not going to ask you why this person committed fraud. I'm not going to ask you that. That person will have to answer why they committed fraud. Good. I give 10 reasons why. It doesn't matter. Right? Person's guilty. Good. What does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with what you've done in the world? Nothing. It has nothing to do with nothing. Absolutely zero. If it has nothing to do with nothing, you're going to have to answer for yourself. And we're all going to have to answer for ourselves. If God says, here, over here you spoke Lashon Hara, over here you did this, over here you did that, you're going to have to answer. You can't say you didn't do it, right? Just like we're recording now, everything's being recorded there. God, you can't say it. You can't say that, right? Because when everyone has not a body experience, right, they say the same thing. First thing that happens is the light flashes before their eyes. That means they saw everything that happened in their life until this point very quickly. Very, very quickly. That's what it means. You can't say you didn't do it. It's recorded. Absolutely, you have two angels following you everywhere. It's recorded. Now, you can give excuses why your hand was in the cookie jar. Okay. God can either say yay or nay, right? He can either say that's a good excuse or it's not a good excuse. But he can't say you didn't do it. But God's not asking you about someone else. He'll deal with them however he deals with them. That's not your issue. Your issue is, why'd you do this? Why'd you do the other thing? That's your issue. We're going to have to answer. I always tell people, I don't answer for other people. Why this person did that, like someone told me. They said, I saw an Orthodox Jew in a casino. I said, beautiful. Yeah. So he goes, what were they doing there? I said, gambling. Probably having a great time. They're like, no, no. So how secular Jews say this? According to your religion, well, they're also Jewish, right? According to your religion, is that forbidden? Yes. Why'd they do it? As I told you, they were gambling. They're having a good time. But it's forbidden. Okay. And people smoke. That's for, people are overweight. I have to answer why people smoke or overweight? I don't have to answer that. I have enough trouble answering for myself. I'm not going to answer someone else. You want me to give my spin on why this person did that or the other thing? Okay, someone's explanation would be just as good or even better than mine, right? Why someone did, why someone commit fraud? Because they don't want to pay taxes. They wanted to screw Uncle Sam. Okay, makes sense. Makes perfect sense, right? You need an explanation for that? They don't want to pay taxes, right? They say Uncle Sam takes too much. Probably does. Yeah, okay. So you don't want to pay taxes, but I mean, it's right. By any stretch, they would come up with an answer. But they have to answer for themselves, right? Would I got in trouble for saying, when someone got caught doing something? An Orthodox Jew, one thing I said was I was glad they admitted they did something wrong. I got hammered by a certain blog, like totally hammered me. And they're like, you're justifying what they did. I said, I didn't justify. I didn't say what they did was right. All I said was, I'm glad they admitted they were wrong, because people don't admit they're wrong. Even when they're caught, they don't admit they were wrong. So I was glad at least they admitted they were wrong. So they put me in a corner, boxed me in a corner and said, we want you to tell us why they did it. I'm going to tell you why they did it. So they kept egging me on. So I played it up. And then finally I said, I have to answer for myself. After 120 years, whatever I've done, I have to answer. I am not answering to someone else. Come on, ask him. Get his address, get his email address, call him up, whatever. Find out why he did it. I can tell you probably why I think he did it, but I'm not going to. It's not my job. I'm going to have 10 different reasons why. You want me to answer for someone else? No. I'll answer for myself. If I have what to answer. I'm not going to answer for someone else. That's their job. But see, it makes us look bad also. They're going to say, come on. How many Orthodox Jews, and this is where it comes up. How many Orthodox Jews really do what they're supposed to do? Well, I think a lot of people do. You can say, but they're just doing things that don't get caught. How do you know? You took a survey of 1 million Orthodox Jews? Like, you really know, you're in the know, that they're all hiding things they've done wrong? Everyone does something wrong, okay. It's against the law. Whatever it is. Who says they're all scamming people? Some people do. I can say not. Some people do. I'm saying it's right. And, God will take care of them, whether in this world or the next world. Right? No one's going to say it's right. Okay, so if some people scam other people, that means everyone does it? And if I made that statement against Asians, blacks, Puerto Ricans, yeah, that's racist. 100% that's racist. You say all Puerto Ricans still have hubcaps. Well, maybe it's true, some of them. Maybe it's true. Yeah? And even if it would be, every Puerto Rican still in hubcaps? I don't think so. Right? Or all Asians doing this, that's racist. It's 100% racist. They don't get away with saying that. So where's the person get away saying all Orthodox Jews, this, that, and the other thing? I had this conversation with someone during COVID. A certain Rebbe that passed away, and they want to make a funeral, 10,000 people. Yeah, they want to make a big funeral, but, COVID restrictions, different things. They had permission from the police department to do it. Now, with all the hysteria about COVID, I would have told them to do it. I said, make a small funeral. That's it. Don't irk people by making such a big thing and whatever, right? So what happens? Police department reneged on it. For whatever reason, they reneged on it, looked really bad. So made the news, obviously. Made a big thing in the news. So somebody said, I can't believe they did that. Went against protocol, this and that. I hope you would never do that. I said, I don't. Social distance, do what I'm supposed to do. Whatever. Yeah. But but I made a very strong statement. I said, listen, you're saying Orthodox Jews, this, that, and the other thing. Were there plenty of Orthodox Jews not doing anything during COVID? Yes. Say what you want about it, but yeah, it's true. That is true. Okay. Not saying everybody, but whatever. There were people that flaunted protocols. Okay. But if someone says all Orthodox Jews did that, that's being racist. That's not true. And I said, by the way, when you say all Orthodox Jews, you're talking about me and my wife and my kids. I said, none of us do that. But I said, you better be very careful what you say because you included us. That's a racist statement. Like, no, I didn't really mean you. Yeah, but if you mentioned anything against Orthodox Jews, I'm included. That's kind of a problem. And you can say whatever you want about, protocols and COVID. I'm not getting into that. That's not the point. Well, when someone makes that type of statement, it's a racist statement. This is made by a Jew. Right? So, surprisingly. That was made by a non-Jew, okay. Right? Different issue. But there were people, crazy thing. There'd be, secular Jews that if they saw Orthodox Jews, let's say, get on a train or a bus, they get off. Even if they're wearing masks. Crazy. We don't want to be part of it. You're flouting the rules, this and that. And how many say, they didn't say anything about secular Jews doing that. Plenty of secular Jews doing that. No made any statements about that. Certain things they were saying they're having these COVID parties. People doing all kinds of crazy things. Okay, yeah, it's kind of made the news. No one jumping up and down about it. Well, not that I remember. No one jumping up and down about it. But if you Orthodox Jews do something, yeah, it makes news. It makes news. But if you're gonna bash everyone together, that's kind of being racist. Right? That that is definitely, that's definitely true. So I always say, we're the ambassadors to Torah. We have to be exemplary. We do not want to give Jews, secular Jews, non-Jews, any ammunition whatsoever to open their mouth and say anything negative. Anything negative. Because anything they're going to say, it's going to be a bad reflection on us. And even if we don't do it, they're not going to distinguish. They're going to say, well, that person's a bad egg, or that person doesn't care. What does that say about the whole group? What is that going to say? It's going to make us all look bad. Right? But, because it's, this collective, it's collective punishment. It's not just, all Jews look bad in that sense. Let's say when Orthodox Jews does something and people see it and it's negative, that makes a desecration of God's name. Now Rashi says, the end of Tractate Yuma, Rashi says that one aspect of a desecration of God's name, not the true definition, which means it has to be done in front of 10 Jews, but that's the true definition. But he says one aspect of this is if somebody sees you doing something, sees an Orthodox Jew doing something negative. It's a negative thing. It's the wrong thing to do. So they're going to learn negative things from what this person does. That is a desecration of God's name. Again, not in the literal sense. So aren't there things, unfortunately, that Orthodox Jews do that other people look at and say, that's bad? I'm not saying all Orthodox Jews, not bashing everyone. There are people, there are people who do things wrong, especially in public. Shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be done in private either. Right? But the fact is, you're out there and it happens. It's, it's a problem. It's 100% a problem. I would go further and say, we use COVID as an example. I don't get banned here, on YouTube. But, even if you didn't hold according to protocols, even if you didn't believe in the whole thing, yeah, even if you didn't believe in the whole thing, but flaunting it and not doing it in public is a problem. Yeah, it is a problem. I'll give a better example. A better example would be, here in Israel on Israel, not Israel Independence Day. It's a day of remembrance for fallen soldiers and a day of remembrance for people died in the Holocaust. On both those days, they have sirens at night and during the day. A 2-minute moment of silence. Now, a moment of silence is a Galatian thing. It's a non-Jewish thing. I remember, in school back in the day, they had a moment of silence. They didn't say Christian prayers or whatever. At one point, they started doing it and they stopped. But they had a moment of silence. You drop your head, you droop your head a little bit, and you think about whatever you think about. That's a Galatian thing. It's not a Jewish thing. So they do it here also. Now, here's a little more graphic. What they do is when the siren goes off for this, all cars stop. They stop, no matter where they are, they stop. They get out of the car and they stand at attention, looking like an idiot with their, heads drooped maybe or whatever they're thinking of. Now, I would say if an Orthodox Jew is there and they happen to be outside at the time, right? Everyone else is standing, you should also stand. Now you're going to tell me you don't believe in it, it's a Goyish thing, very good. So what should you do at that time? Say Tehillim, right? Say Psalms, in these people's memories. Think Torah thoughts. Think something in Torah as a merit for the people that died. Don't just sit there like an idiot like everyone else, right? Either say some Psalms, some Tehillim, or think Torah thoughts or something. But I would say, this is a very sensitive thing. Right? Here in Israel, it's a very, very sensitive thing. A lot of times there are cameras that people will go into certain neighborhoods knowing people are not going to stand, and that's what they photograph. And that's what gets out. Right? That's what gets out. That makes the desecration of God's name. Yeah. It's a Goyish thing. You shouldn't have to do it. Blah, blah, blah. You're right. Shouldn't be done. 100% it shouldn't be done. Right? You go back to learning, go back to whatever you're doing. Right? That's not a desecration of their memory. Standing up there like an idiot with your head bowed, that's desecration of the enemy, of people that die. That's a desecration. So if you happen to be in public and the siren goes off, so you stand there like everyone else, but think Torah thoughts. Any Tehillim you remember, say them in their memory. But don't sit there and act like a non-Jew at that point. But if you don't do that, and you're out in public, that makes it worse. That makes it much worse. Because they're going to say, look at all these soldiers that died. You don't care. You don't even want to remember, you don't even want to remember their memory at all. You think you're better. You don't have to do the army, blah, blah, blah. It brings up a whole lot of emotion. Tremendous amount of emotion. You don't have any good answers for that either. Right? That they're going to listen to. So even getting in discussion is bad. Right? But if a person's ever in that situation, even if, whatever you think, however wrong it is, which it is, no question, that's not how you commemorate a memory of someone. In that sense, he died in the Holocaust or, fought in Israeli wars, and died that way. So there's no mitzvah whatsoever, certainly to do what the non-Jews do. Sit there with a moment of silence. Okay. At the same time, if you're in that position, you stand like everyone else and think Torah thoughts or say Tehillim. That is the proper response. Because otherwise, someone's seen you, you're going to get blasted. And there's no way you'll ever win that argument. Says, no, you don't understand. It's a non-Jewish concept. When it comes to the Holocaust, we have certain things we say on Tisha B'Av, the ninth festival, commemorates all pogroms and the Holocaust and all tragedies. They're not going to get it. They're not going to be interested in that. They're going to say, well, you don't care about the memory? 6 million people perished in a horrific way. You don't care. You don't show respect. That's not respect. I'll hammer you. Hammer you. You won't win. You won't win the argument. Now, we believe we're right. I don't think there's any question. This is a goyish thing to do. 100%. I grew up with it. It's a goyish thing. That's not the way you commemorate anything. What to do something positive. Yeah, or do nothing. Don't do that. Yeah, but if you're in a public place and everyone else there, or other people there, let's say, are secular, you don't aggravate them. This is a big aggravation. And it happens every year. It happens every year. You got journalists or whatever, they're egging people on for this. They're looking for that picture. And that's what's going to be in the paper. There will be other pictures of, you have highways stopped. Cars stop on the side. People stop driving at that point till the siren's over. And people get out of their cars. They'll show that also. But they're going to show right next to it Orthodox Jews, doing whatever they're doing. That's worse. 100% worse. So we have to be the best we can be and not give them one iota of ammunition. Not one. Not secular Jews, and not non-Jews. That's what we have to do. It's a huge responsibility. Yeah, there are people who make mistakes, sure. But it's a lot of times, once the damage is done, it's done. Remember, someone made a comment. I said, I don't do that. Family doesn't do that. Most of the other people I know don't do that. This person's an idiot. Okay. You're right. And it shouldn't be done. And they're wrong, right? You condemn it. It's wrong. The problem is the initial thing is already there. Very hard to diffuse. I'll put it like this. Imagine New York Times writes an article with someone and they get sued for defamation. They get sued for libel. And let's say the person wins. Very good. What happens? They make a retraction. If the Holy New York Times makes a, they take it back. They take back what they said. Does that go on the front page? No. Is it a big article? No. Probably on page like 257, need bifocals to read it. Even if they retract what they said, I would say even if they put it on the front page of this and that, they retract it. Person's already been maligned. Libel's already been committed. The damage is done. Maybe it's better if it's on the first page. Okay, let's say. Yeah. Maybe it diffuses a little bit. But what's everyone going to remember? Not going to remember that. They remember what the person did or what they were accused of. Damage is already done. So same thing. Same thing. Trying to correct the wrong that someone did is very hard. Because, a person has this already in mind. Now, there are people that have a negative image of, let's say, Judaism, but when does that negative image form? When they're 7 years old. Right? I've spoken about this before, when they're 10 years old or younger. Right? However old a person is, right, underage, there's no seichel, there's no das, there's no understanding of anything. I didn't make a decision about Judaism and say, yeah, the Rebbe hit me and this happened, when I was a kid or whatever, so I don't have anything to do with Judaism. Had a person say that in their 70s or 60s, 70s, at that point, in their 60s. But they kept saying the same thing over and over again, and I kept saying, that's not what Judaism is. That's not what it represents. No, but the Rebbe did this. This makes sound like a broken record. Right? Third Rebel one once say, should be well. Imagine kids in school, fourth grade, 10 years old, 9 years old. He says, had a bad teacher. Let's say he had a bad teacher. That's it. I'm going to go get a job. We don't need no education, right? Pink Floyd reference. Yeah, they're going to say, what's the point? They're going to say, I'm going to go get a job. Never happened. Chalk it up to a bad experience. Person goes to therapy. They move on in life, hopefully. But you make a decision at the age of 7, the age of 8. This is what happens. This is what Judaism is. And you throw the whole thing out. It's a good excuse. Who in the world makes a life decision? Huge life decision based on what happened when they were 7. Now I say a person was abused, other things happen, okay. Right? They go through certain trauma. I'm not talking about that per se. I'm not talking about that. Yeah? They had a negative experience, let's say, okay. So we're a flimsy generation, cream puff generation. So yeah, that can destroy a person for life. Shouldn't. Can have an effect, I'm not saying not. But how in the world you base a decision on that when you're 7 years old? Right? That's kind of hard. Right? That's kind of hard to say. Other people make excuses. They will make excuses, though. So people in power of influence, have a huge responsibility. They have a huge responsibility. They have a tremendous effect on people, positive and negative. It doesn't give the right to someone at a young age to throw everything out because that's what happened. But I get it. Things happen, it has an effect. I get it. But, at that young of an age. So anyway, we have to be careful. We have to be exemplary at whatever we do. If we're on the road, drive, like you should. But then you have to drive, you have to drive like a turtle and whatever. You also put yourself in danger, others in danger. Whatever, you drive normal. You don't drive like a maniac or cut people off, this, that. Okay. You drive normal, like I wouldn't say everybody, but whatever. In a normal way. You're waiting in line, you're courteous. Do other things that you should do. These are obvious. Obvious. Well, I should say in some cultures. Some cultures maybe not so obvious. Okay. But things that are obvious, things that, people should do in general that are right, that's what you got to do. I'm not big in externals, but, you don't go out of your way to annoy people. Right? Even if you think they're wrong. Right? We're not starting up with people. That's not the Jewish way. It's why a lot of people had issues with Meir Kahane, Hashem Yikam Double. God should avenge his blood. We don't start up with non-Jews. That's not the way. That doesn't, disagree with what he said, Torah-wise, right? But they disagreed how he said it and what he did. But at the end of the day, we believe we're right. So good. I have to go and antagonize people to show them right. I have to do that. Shouldn't do that. Right? Definitely shouldn't do that. That's not the way. If dialogue, other things, good. But to show them up, even if you're right, different issue. So we have to be exemplary. And, sometimes not so easy. It's just not so easy. We're not thinking, we're tired, we're, other things. And we can make mistakes, but mistakes can be crucial. What they say, a person makes a first impression. Usually that first impression sticks with a person. Even if, you met the second time, you want to fix up what you did the first time or the third time or whatever, you have to uproot the first thing you did. Otherwise, the person has a certain perspective. You don't change that. You don't change that in a person's mind. You lost it. There's no going back to it. I'm not saying 100%, but to uproot that's gonna take work. 100% gonna take work. So at all times, regardless of anything else going on, we have to be exemplary. We have to be the true light of the nations. God chose us, we chose him. Very good. We have greater responsibility. See, that's why the Jewish people have been up and down more than anyone else in the world, or been down probably more than anyone else in the world. And the reason is we have greater responsibility and there's collective punishment. So if there's greater responsibility, I got to be 10 times more careful what I do, what I say when I'm out there in the quote unquote big world. Quote unquote the real world. Got to be a lot more careful because you have a sign on your back or on your front that I'm representing the Torah. Now, there are times we can do the right thing and people get offended. That's not our fault. That's not the Torah's fault. They have an issue. I don't have to worry about the desecration of God's name in that. Right? Someone say, yeah, you can have a discussion with somebody and they say, I don't believe in God, and they say all kinds of negative things, and that put it in a stumbling block. I mentioned this last week. Someone asked me the question. That's not a stumbling block. But you can say something, they're an atheist. They're going to say the Torah's anti-women and anti-pig and anti all kinds of things. Okay, so we have an image problem. Good. Right? We have an image problem. Okay, so but it doesn't mean it's true. Right? Not only that, even if they say it, and even if you know they're going to say it, does that mean a transgressor putting a stumbling block in front of someone? You can try and clarify. They'll say, I think the Torah's anti-pig. No, you don't understand. God told us, what to eat, and God spoke on Mount Sinai. Oh, who says I believe in God? Right? They say, no, you don't understand. We got clear-cut proofs and this and that. Like, no matter what they say, that's not your problem. In other words, the more you say, the more they come out against it. Okay. It's their choice. But you're putting a stumbling block because that's what they're going to say. They can say whatever they want. That's not a stumbling block. Right? Stumbling block is something I'm doing direct. Right? Or a person's doing direct. For example, someone takes on the Nazarite vow, which you're not allowed to do because you can't bring sacrifices today. Someone took on the Nazarite vow, right? Which means you can't eat grapes, can't drink wine, can't go to the cemetery. I'm sure people will be bothered by that, right? Can't take a haircut. So it's like, someone buy you, it's a Nazarite, you put wine right in front of them or grape juice. I tell them they can get it anywhere else. They can just go outside, go get it somewhere else. You're right, they could. But they're by you right now. You put it in front of them. That's stumbling block. That's something direct. If it's something, indirect, they get it from you or get it from somewhere else. That's not direct. Right? They can choose either way. Right? That's not direct. Right? You put something in front of them, that's more direct. So again, even if I'm saying something and someone comes out and blasphemes and says all kinds of other things, it's not my problem. They might have said it anyway, but so what? Right? That way. So a person has to realize. We have great responsibility, right? And what we have to do, and what we have to say, and how we have to act, right? Someone here says, you have opposite anti-Semitism. Jews, maybe not real Jews, maybe. Call me a dirty goy, misguiding, lying, why am I honestly trying to convert? That's a problem. That is a serious problem. Right? So, if people are harping on that, it could be, I'm not going to answer for them. Right? It could be that's just the way of trying to discourage you from wanting to convert. I'm not saying it's necessary. I'm not saying it's right. Right? Maybe they're using it as a tactic to say that, think again. Why do you want to come into this community? Whatever. And they make it real hard. Right? Let's say. The question is, why are they doing it? Now, if they have altruistic motives, meaning they're doing it for your benefit, you're going to say, why are they doing it for my benefit? That means they're doing it because they want to test how a person, they're going to test the person's mettle. They're going to test them, and see, if they really want to convert. Let's show them what's really out there. Because once they convert, and they're acting like a Jew in all places. How are they going to react when non-Jews say that? How are they going to react? So part of it's also a test. I'm not saying that's why they're doing it, right? I'm not going to answer why they do it. They could be doing it for a number of reasons. So again, in any of these cases, right? I'm not saying they're Jews or not Jews. Let's say they're Jews. Let's say they're bona fide Orthodox Jews. Let's say. Why are they doing it? Maybe they're doing it as a test. Maybe they want to test you. I want to see if you really have you really have what it takes to be a Jew. Because you're going to experience this. Right? So you're going to say you didn't experience it in Israel. I have. Negative discrimination. Right? Opposite discrimination by secular Jews. Just the way they look at you. How they deal with you. I've definitely experienced it. Right? Certainly experienced it, in America. No question. People experience it in different places. And not just where you are. People, discrimination by Jews. By Jews against other Jews or non-Jews. Right? I'm not sugarcoating it. Either way. But, if they're not doing it, we'll just say this. If they're not doing it because they're testing you, then obviously it's forbidden. Right? So I'll give you one piece of advice. One piece of advice. Sticks and stones. Let people say what they want. You can tell them to go eat kugel. Get a hat and say, go eat kugel. I don't really care. This is my path. This is what I'm doing. If they say they have issues. Yeah. If they're doing it to test you, I'll have less of an issue with it. I'm not saying someone should say it. If they're doing it to test you, to see if you really want to become a Jew or not, okay. Yeah, I don't agree with it, but I hear it. I definitely hear that, but I'm not saying 100% I agree with it. Okay. And even if they're doing that, let's say they're doing it to test you. Yeah. So your reaction should, well, what are you going to answer? You're going to say, that's offensive. They may not care. They'll say, just deal with it. They may say other things. Now, make it a little more graphic. What if they're doing it not to test you? Let's say they're doing it for one purpose. To make you feel bad. To put you down. Right? So, I would say it's not even worth answering. You could tell them, it's honest devarim, right? It's causing someone to suffer. Like, you can't remind the secular Jews, what was it like when, don't you remember you used to eat pork? Don't you remember you used to do this? That's forbidden. It's a Torah prohibition. Torah prohibition to remind, a convert about where they came from. Also Torah prohibition. Right? Yeah, you could answer, it's prohibition against suffering. I don't know if they'll care or not. They might. In this case, I probably doubt it. Right? They could be just, maybe they're just saying to see your reaction. Maybe. You're going to get flustered. You're going to get upset. You're going to still be proud during this process. Yeah. So you say it makes the person think, should I really join these people? These are what these people are like. You can have bad eggs. Let's say, so let's flip the script here. Let's say they're bad eggs. And most people don't do that. Even if some do, it doesn't matter. Yeah? Let's say most people don't do that. But you got a couple bad eggs. It's a couple bad eggs, it's worth it just to throw the whole process up. I wouldn't say that. You'll come across it. People who want to convert will come across this. Whether it's a test or not, doesn't matter. They'll come across it. So you have one or two choices. Right? You have one or two choices. You give an answer like that. Tell them to go eat kugel. This is what I'm doing anyway. But you're going to have thick skin. Right? So I mentioned before. You got to have thick skin. If you don't have thick skin, it's going to make you think, should I really join these people? I join these people, that's what I'm going to get. treat you like a second-class citizen. They're going to always, they're always going to say, they're always going to second guess by the proper conversion, etc. Or person can say it's not for me, right? I don't need this. I've sacrificed enough. I don't need this, right? Or you find other people to hang out with. Yeah, it's also an option. Also an option. It doesn't represent Torah. Again, I'll give one benefit of the doubt. The only benefit of the doubt I'll give is if they're doing it to test you. If they're doing it to test you, then I would cut them a little bit of slack. If they're not doing it to test you, that's what they really think, then yeah, wrong people to hang out with. Right? No question. But it can make a person second guess. Right? And say, well, this is what it's going to be like, then why bother converting? Now, again, let's keep in mind one thing. You have a choice. Every non-Jew has a choice. Right? See, as a Jew, I don't have a choice. Right? If you're a secular Jew, you got to be Orthodox. You don't want to be Orthodox, okay, but you don't have a choice. Not a question of unconverting. You're going to be a Christian, a Buddhist, whatever. You're going to get punished after 120 years as a Jew, after you die. So a Jew doesn't have that choice. A non-Jew has a choice. They can just say, I'm fed up with this. There are people who've done it. I know some people have done it. They got fed up. They got discouraged, and they left it. Stayed on a no-hide path or whatever they did. Well, they left it. Could be the community would be liable for that, but okay. They couldn't take it anymore. Understandable. I'm not here to judge. Right? It's not my job here to judge. I'll let God judge that. What's the bottom line? You have a choice. And a person could say, I don't have anything to do with this. This is what happens. This is how I'm going to be treated. Even if it's an isolated incident. Yeah, they just don't want it. They had too many. Too many people saying things. Okay. It's their choice. I'm not here to judge one way or another. But I would tell you that, if you have a few people, or even a number of people saying negative things, that doesn't mean that's what Judaism is. You don't mix up Jews and Judaism. I know someone, converted after a number of years. They were living in a modern Orthodox community, and the biggest problem they had in the process of conversion were from Jews, from modern Orthodox Jews. You think you're so religious, not even Jewish. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? There's only a stringency. You think you're better than me. Said a lot of nasty things. I didn't stop them. They just realized they're in the wrong community, and then they're moving to a more, a more Orthodox community, more Haredi community, ultra-Orthodox community. They left because obviously it didn't fit their world outlook. But the majority of people that made comments were Jews, not non-Jews. And I'm not saying they meant well. Right? Again, I'm not going to answer for anyone. But when someone says, come on, you're doing this, doing that, you're not even Jewish yet, that's a problem. That they feel threatened. It's like, oh, you don't think I'm Jewish enough? You don't think I keep this or I keep that? You're not even Jewish. That's a problem. That's honest divine. That's a Torah prohibition. Making someone feel bad. Right? But they understood where, what their mentality was, where they're coming from. I certainly helped them with this. Right? And eventually they moved. They moved to a community that was more similar to their world outlook. They didn't have that problem. Right? They could have thrown in the towel. Sure, they were in the wrong community. No question. But I explained to them why. I explained to them what was going on. They understood. It didn't make it any easier. But they understood. They definitely understood. They were there for the long haul. It didn't matter what these people were saying. So they have a lot of negativity towards that community. Makes sense. Right? 100% it makes sense. But again, why is somebody saying it? They feel inferior. Because you're doing more than I'm doing. You're quote unquote more religious than me. You're not even Jewish. So like, what's the point? At the end of the day, it's a problem. It's a serious problem. Someone could throw in the towel and say, I don't need this. You're right. But if you understand what these people are and what they do, it's not a representation of what Judaism is. Someone here says also, there's one big rabbi or nothing good about, snitching on others, Jews, whatever. That's that's one of the worst things you can do. Being a snitch, being what we call a moser. Now, it's got good reason to turn people into the authorities because they're causing damage or other things. That's not snitching. There's a mitzvah to do such a thing. Right? If someone's a reckless driver, they're a reckless driver. You see them reckless driving. Yeah? It's a mitzvah to turn them in. Sure, it's a mitzvah to turn them in. That's not snitching. They're reckless. So if someone turns someone in because they're reckless in other ways, that's not a problem. But if they don't, if they're doing it for the wrong reason, right? Let's say, and they don't have a good reason to do it, they lose a portion of the world to come. That's a pretty severe prohibition. The Gemara says nothing worse than a Moser. Someone who turns a Jew into secular authorities without proper reason. That's a serious problem. Very, very serious problem. So now, without knowing anything, if that's what this person is doing, that's a very serious problem. They lose a portion of the world to come for doing it. If they have good reason, I'm just flipping the script here. If they have good reason for doing what they're doing, let's say, I'm not saying they are, but let's say, because the person's reckless, they've done other things, and they deserve to be snitched on to the authorities, that's not a problem. That's a mitzvah to do such a thing. Someone who's reckless. We have to know there are conditions here. You have to know firsthand, what they're doing. It has to be clear as the sun what they're doing. Because, if not, let's say they were doing something and it really wasn't so bad. And you turn them in. Yeah? So you get the transgression, but the more you get the transgression, you lose your portion of the hand in the world to come. You lose your portion of the world to come. That's a problem. That is a serious problem. So again, I would say if that's what he's doing, and he's got no legitimate reason for doing it, that's a serious problem. Serious problem. If they have good reason to, let's say, they have good reason, I don't have an issue with that. You're saving people harm. Like people afraid, I can't do that because, I'm turning someone into the authorities. The person is reckless. Someone is reckless. There's no mitzvah to keep them out there. There's no mitzvah not to stop them. There are conditions. You have to have firsthand evidence. Can't be hearsay. They have good evidence. You don't have good evidence, you can't do that. You have to do that. Someone asked, what a person harasses another person, and since someone has a good reason threatened to kill them. Where's the punishment for that? Yeah. Right? If someone's harassing someone, so they're a threat to you. You can turn them in. 100%. That's being reckless. Right? And you say, you had good reason to do it, very good. And they threaten to kill them. Now. So that's a problem. That's for sure a problem, even if they don't. Obviously, if they do or they try, that's a more serious problem. Right? What's the punishment? Good question. Threatening someone, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the punishment would be. Rabbinic lashes, maybe, for threatening to kill someone. Words are words until actually something is done. Certainly not a good thing. 100%, it's not a good thing. It's not a death penalty. Right? At best, maybe it's rabbinic lashes. Right? Maybe at best it's rabbinic lashes. Probably, I'm not even sure it's that. Maybe that's what it would be. I don't know. I have to see. Because I'm not going to say it's no punishment. There is definitely going to be punishment. The question is what? Because you haven't done anything. It's that you threatened them. That's not good. That's definitely not good. What if, let's say, I don't know, somebody owes someone money, whatever the amount is, doesn't matter. In order to get the money out of the person, they scare them. They use scare tactics. They don't physically do anything, but they use scare tactics. Now, I can see both ways. On the one hand, using scare tactics, not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing. Not a good character trait to have, to do it. But sometimes, in order to get something out of someone, you're going to push them. You're going to threaten them. I'm not saying with death. I'm not talking about that. Right? You're going to threaten them. Yeah. So that might not be forbidden. Let's say, let's say like this. Someone owed someone money. They had a check. They gave him, let's say, a check or whatever. They said, listen, I don't care if you don't have any money in the bank. I'm going to take this check and I'm going to cash it. I'll go in the black market. I'll cash it. Then you'll have to deal with them. Now, is that legit? That's the way to get money out, maybe. They use it as a scare tactic. Yeah. No, that may not be forbidden. They're doing something to protect their rights. The only way they feel they have the upper hand, either they can take it to Basin, which that's not necessarily going to help them in this case if you don't have money, because Basin will make you pay, maybe a certain amount a month, whatever you can pay. Can't force you, but you pay whatever you can pay. So it's still going to take them longer to get the money. So that probably is not going to work so much. So they say, listen, if you don't do this, I'll give you a certain amount of time. If you don't do this, I'm going to cash the check. Now, what does cashing the check do? They don't doctor the check, right? I'm not even talking about that. They cash it. They go to the black market. They go somewhere, and someone will cash the check. And they know, well, they don't really care if there's money in there or not. They just want the money. Good. So let's say the check bounces. Right? What's going to happen? So whoever they wrote the check to, it's going to say, we want the money. Great. Say, I don't have the money. But, so then you have to work out a deal with them. How are you going to pay them? Well, that's why the person got the money. Now, is that a good way to do things? They feel they have no choice. They're going to take you to secular court, right? Let's say. Not going to go through that hassle. Even if you have to, even if they win and the other person has to pay their lawyer fees, it'll take them a while to get the money anyway. So that's not going to help them. Right? So they feel like, okay, the person's dragging them along. This could go on forever. Who knows how long? So I say, listen, they say you got a choice. I'm going to give you this amount of time to pay. If you don't pay, I'm cashing the check. Anything wrong with that? Even if they go underhandedly to the black market, the mafia, whoever they go to cash the check. If they go to someone to cash the check and they cash it, what happens? So they did. Right? That's forbidden? I wouldn't say it's forbidden. Not a good thing to do, but it's not forbidden. So as you're asking is, they threaten the person because they turned someone in. And say, I'm going to kill you for turning in so-and-so. I get it. So I don't know what the punishment is. Could be. It's a rabbinic prohibition. The rabbinic prohibition, you might get lashes for it. They threaten you because you turned someone in. Okay. I said, I'm not sure. I would think you get rabbinic lashes. That's what I would think. Not death penalty. Definitely not death penalty. Yeah. So you're threatening someone. Okay. It's not good. Question is, even if you get rabbinic lashes, but you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. Right? On the other hand, you could turn them in and say, listen, this person threatened to kill me. I want protection. I want, you could turn them in. Right? You could turn them in. But let's say you can't, whatever reason. Yeah. So I would say at best it's rabbinic lashes. It would be rabbinic lashes. I don't think it's more than that. You're not getting spiritually cut off. You are not getting death penalty. Right? So I'd say at best it's rabbinical acts. I have to look into it further, but it might not even be that. It's not a good thing to do. Okay. Right? So maybe you don't get rabbinical lashes, maybe you don't get anything, but it's still not a good thing to do. Right? It's not a good thing to do. How much you're going to fry in hell? I have no idea. But it's definitely not good for sure. Direct punishment? Good question. Again, I'm saying at best it's rabbinical lashes. At best. I don't think it's more than that. I don't think it'd be more than that. Because it's not death penalty. If a person tried to kill you and they didn't, okay, it's a more serious prohibition. Definitely more serious prohibition. But threatening is never good. The question you're asking is good. What level of prohibition is it? So I think it's a rabbinic prohibition. Definitely rabbinic prohibition. Question is, you're going to get lashes or something, or either you're going to get lashes, or even if it's a rabbinic prohibition, I don't know, maybe it's no punishment because you didn't do anything. Essentially, you didn't do anything. You threatened them, but you didn't do anything. Essentially. Right? So it could be, there's no punishment. There'll be something. It's not good. 100%. So part of me would say maybe it's nothing. Maybe you get nothing. Maybe there'll be no punishment because you didn't do anything. You threatened them. Okay, it's not a good thing to say. It's not a good thing to do. Right? Right? Or you tell me it's a rabbinic prohibition, right? Which probably is. And then you get lashes. More, again, I can't imagine it's more than lashes. Can't imagine. But whatever, I'll have to check. I'll have to see what it is. I don't think, off the cuff, I don't think it's more than that. Shouldn't be more than that. But it might not even be that either. But I have to check. When they actually take actions to kill the person. Again, they haven't done it yet. Let's say they hire a hitman. Okay, it's bad, but they didn't carry it out yet. It doesn't matter if they're a non-Jew. If they're a non-Jew, it's also forbidden, right? It's also forbidden, not death penalty. Not a death penalty. I would say it's the same thing. Either they're going to get lashes, or threatening someone's certainly not death penalty even for a non-Jew. Even for a non-Jew, come out the same. Will come out the same. Whatever the punishment is for a Jew, it should be for a non-Jew. It shouldn't change. I don't think it's going to be any difference. Because it would come under the Noahide laws, right? Because at least as a moral imperative, right? At the very least, it's a moral imperative that for sure it shouldn't be done, but it's certainly not death penalty either. That wouldn't be a death penalty for Noahide laws, right? So a Jew and a non-Jew should be the same. I would say it would be similar punishment. I don't think it makes any difference. Shouldn't make any difference, but I don't want to say 100%. I just think that I can't imagine it's more than rabbinic lashes. Can't imagine it's more than that. Even for a non-Jew, probably also get whooped. But I don't want to say 100% because it could be nothing. Could be because they haven't done anything yet. It's just a bad thing to do, but there's no specific punishment. There's no specific punishment for that because they haven't done anything. Essentially, they haven't done anything. Again, it's not a good thing to do, for sure. For sure, it's forbidden to do. The question, but they really haven't done anything wrong. They threatened, but they haven't done anything. So part of me would say maybe it's nothing because they haven't done anything. Words don't mean anything until you do something because they haven't done anything. If they rough you up a little bit, yeah, that's a problem. That's going further. But if they haven't got to that point where they rough someone up, or they beat them up, or something like that, so it might not be anything. Once they go over that line, yeah, it's a different issue. For a different issue. And if it be a non-Jew, again, unless they kill the person, it's not death penalty. That wouldn't be death penalty. It's certainly forbidden for sure. It's not death penalty though. What if someone lies to the cops and gets someone charged with a crime? They're guilty for that. They're guilty. They have to pay damages. It's not death penalty. They frame someone, let's say. Yeah, let's say they frame someone, so not death penalty. Even for a non-Jew, it's not death penalty. It depends what they did. They cost, someone, let's say, forget they get framed. Let's say, oh no, you're talking where they lied. Yeah, so even if it's a non-Jew, again, it's a rabbinic prohibition. It's the same for a Jew. If they lied, they committed a crime. So I was going to say, maybe you tell me that they should get punished for what they said the crime was, right? Because there's a case what we call Edi Zomim by Jews. There's a case where if you have witnesses that lie and say that this person did this, right, and they didn't really do it, so whatever that person would have been guilty of, the witnesses get punished for that. In other words, if Reuven and Shimon come along and say, Levi, stole, I don't know, $10,000 from Yehuda, but he never did it. He didn't, right? And you get another witness contradict and say he didn't do it. Yeah, so those first witnesses, they were hired to lie, so they would have to pay what they wanted the other person to pay, right? In other words, they get the punishment for what they wanted someone else to get punished for, right? So that applies by Jews. That for sure applies by Jews. Now the question would be, do we say that the same punishment is mitigated for non-Jews as is by Jews? Now let's say they said Reuven and Shimon say Levi killed Yehuda, and they lied. And now Yehuda has Yisachar and Zvulun as witnesses contradict, and said absolutely not. He wasn't there. He didn't do it. Whatever. And they find out the first witness is a false witness. He killed them. Now, why did he kill them? Because they want to have this other person killed. So that's measure for measure. Whatever they wanted to do to this person, then that's done to them. Now, the only question is, okay, that's by Jews. Does that fully apply to non-Jews? Good question. Is that logical? So that I'm not sure. I have to look up. Then I have to see if that would apply in the same way to non-Jews. For sure, that's how it works for Jews. That's how it would work for Jews. Whatever the crime they got accused of that they didn't do, then those false witnesses will get punished for that. Exactly what they wanted to punish the other person for, they get punished for. So good. Now that works for Jews. And what if it's a non-Jew? Does that apply to non-Jews? Good question. That I'm not sure. That I have to double check. If it's the same, then they get the same punishment. Then it would be the same exactly as a Jew. Then across the board, it would be the same. Right? It would be the same thing. Right? But I'm not sure if that applies to non-Jews or not. Should be universal. Let's see why not. Right? But it could be specifically for Jews and not non-Jews. So that I have to check. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Israel time. Anyone that has questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, ethics for fathers, Leviticus. Want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman @gmail.com, which I'm good. Middle of the day, end of the day,